All right, so uh, Tesla's performance in Europe has really been on my mind lately. They were like dominating the EV scene over there for a bit. And now lately things seem to be, well, shifting a little bit. I've been digging into a few, three recent articles about this. And frankly, I'm kind of surprised by what I'm seeing. Declining sales, crazy competition, even Elon Musk's political influence seems to be playing a role. So
Yeah.
it makes me wonder, is Tesla losing its grip on that EV crown? Or is this just like, a temporary bump in the road?
Yeah. The thing that is really interesting to me is that while the overall European EV market is like booming right now, Tesla's sales have actually dropped by like a lot, 45% just in January 2025. And that's a huge contrast to the overall market growth of 37% during that same period.
Oh, 45%. That's a pretty steep decline. So do you know why that is?
Well, the European Automobile Manufacturers Association showed that Tesla's market share has shrunk from 1.8% to only 1%, and that means they've been overtaken by BYD.
Yeah, the Chinese automaker.
Wait, BYD is outselling Tesla in Europe? I'm genuinely curious, how did they manage to do that? It seems like BYD has a really good understanding of what the European market wants. They're not just selling electric cars, they're selling affordability
Yeah.
and like practicality. And that's resonating with European consumers. Their vehicles are full of technology, but they're priced competitively, so it seems to be hitting the sweet spot.
Yeah, that makes sense. Europeans tend to be more focused on practicality and value for money
Hmm.
compared to like some other markets. But it's not just BYD, right? Other automakers are stepping up their EV game too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Traditional European brands like Volkswagen, Renault, and even Toyota with its Lexus line, they're all expanding their EV offerings and they're seeing significant gains. Volkswagen, for instance, saw almost a 15% sales jump after expanding its EV lineup. This just goes to show how competitive the EV market is getting. Tesla can't just rest on its laurels anymore.
Right, so Tesla's facing some serious competition from newer players like BYD and from established companies like Volkswagen. But there's another layer to this, isn't there? What about Elon Musk's growing political influence and how that might be affecting Tesla's brand image, particularly in Europe?
That's a great question. Gene Munster, who is an analyst at Deepwater Asset Management, suggested that some of Tesla's recent stock decline could be because of investor concerns about not just the company's performance, but also Elon Musk's, well, political visibility and stances. You see, investor confidence can be shaken if they see a CEO's actions as risky or potentially damaging to the brand, and that can directly affect a company's stock price.
So it's not just about the cars anymore. The CDO's like persona and actions can actually influence investor perception and potentially hurt the company's value.
Wow, that's not something I thought about too much before.
And you have to remember, Europe has a very different political landscape compared to the US. Musk's actions and statements are seen differently over there, and his political stances might not work with everyone in such a diverse market. That makes a lot of sense. It's a good reminder that in today's global world, companies have to be very mindful of how their actions and messaging are seen in different cultural and political contexts. There isn't a one-size-fits-all approach anymore. So Tesla is facing these three big challenges: declining sales, aggressive competitors, and potential brand image problems, all stemming from Elon Musk's political activities. Do you think they can turn things around?
It's a critical moment for Tesla, for sure. They have to adapt and innovate quickly to regain their position in the European market. We're talking about everything from product changes and pricing to addressing those brand image concerns.
Yeah, so while they have to address these challenges right now, they need to think about the long term too. One of the articles we're looking at talks about their adaptation strategy in China with the updated Model Y.
The Chinese market is like the key to Tesla's global success. So this launch is a big deal. They've stopped the launch series promotion and the extra warranty for the Model Y in China.
That's interesting. Why do you think they did that?
It could be that they're really confident about demand for this Model Y. Maybe they're expecting strong sales even without those incentives.
Okay, but back in Europe, it seems like Tesla is still figuring things out. Another article we have talks about a pretty controversial decision they made, taking out radar from their Model S and X cars and just relying on cameras for their Tesla Vision system.
Tesla Vision sounds like a gamble.
What are the downsides they're facing with this? Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Isn't radar technology like more reliable, especially in tough conditions like fog or rain?
You're right. Radar can see through those conditions, but cameras can't.
So what's the reason behind Tesla's decision to get rid of radar completely?
Well, Tesla says that their AI algorithms are really good and can make up for the limitations of cameras. They say that by using data from multiple cameras and other sensors, their system can see everything around the car, even in bad weather.
It's like they're betting everything on AI, hoping that AI will solve the problems cameras have right now. That's risky, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. They're basically betting that their AI will be able to see things, as well as or even better than radar.
So what happens if this doesn't work?
If Tesla vision doesn't work well, especially in bad conditions, it could be a big safety problem, and that could hurt Tesla's reputation and make people not trust them.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's bold, but risky. It seems like Tesla has a lot of hard choices to make now, in Europe and around the world.
Definitely. The EV market is changing so fast, and Tesla has to adapt quickly to stay ahead. Their success depends on how they handle these challenges, how they innovate, and how they make decisions that work for consumers and investors.
It'd be interesting to see how this all turns out. What are your thoughts on taking out the radar? Do you think it's a step forward or a mistake?
It's hard to say. It's definitely a big move. And it shows how much Tesla wants to push the boundaries of technology. But it's also a risk that could have big consequences. Only time will tell if it works out.
Well, one thing is for sure, this is a big moment for Tesla. They're facing some problems, but they're also known for their resilience and innovation.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be interesting to see how they handle these problems and what impact their decisions will have on the company and maybe even the whole EV market.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
This is a story that's still going, and we'll be watching to see what happens next.
This whole thing with Tesla makes me think about something we talk about a lot. Even the most innovative companies can, stumble sometimes. It's like a reminder that the business world changes all the time.
You're right. It's like they're in a minefield right now. Declining sales, all this competition, getting rid of radar, and then Elon Musk being so political. That's a whole other thing to talk about.
Exactly. And all this is happening while the whole car industry is changing like crazy. The shift to EVs, self-driving cars, people wanting cars that are connected and personalized. It's a lot of change all at once.
Like the industry is on fast forward, and Tesla, even though they were a leader, is having trouble keeping up. They have pressure from everywhere.
And don't forget about sustainability. Governments everywhere want cleaner cars. So there's a lot of pressure to make EVs that are good for the environment.
Yeah, it's not enough to just have a cool electric car anymore. Customers are more aware these days. They want everything: performance, sustainability, and all the cool tech stuff.
Right. People are more informed than ever. They think about the whole life of the car, from when it's made to when it's thrown away, and they want to make sure their choices are good choices.
It's like buying an EV is like making a statement now.
But going back to Tesla, that decision to just use cameras with Tesla Vision, that seems like a big gamble.
Yeah, there's a lot on the line with that.
It is a bold move, that's for sure. They're trusting that AI will be better than radar in the future.
It's like they're playing a different game. What if the technology isn't ready yet?
That's the question, isn't it? If Tesla Vision doesn't work, especially when the weather is bad and radar would be better, it can be really bad for them. Accidents, lawsuits, people not trusting them.
That could make people scared of self-driving cars altogether.
It's a big risk, and it shows how innovation and safety are sometimes at odds. How far can you push technology before it becomes dangerous for people?
That's a big question for Tesla right now. How well they do will depend on finding that balance between doing new things and being responsible.
Totally. They have to be bold and have a vision, but they also have to be careful.
They've had problems in the past, but they've also done amazing things. They made electric cars cool.
Yeah, they disrupted the whole industry, made other car companies start taking EVs seriously. They've been a big part of the change.
Even though they're struggling now, they push everyone forward. But back to their problems in Europe, what do they need to do to get back on top? Can they even do it at this point?
It's going to be hard, that's for sure. Not just other EV companies are competing with them, but regular car companies are starting to make good EVs too.
Everyone's coming after them now. They aren't the underdog anymore.
Right. They need to find a way to be different, to offer something special, and fix their image problem, especially in Europe.
Like, they need to reinvent themselves, a new way of looking at things.
And let's not forget about the practical problems they have, like delays in making cars and problems getting parts. Those things can make people not trust them and hurt their business.
They can't relax. They need to deliver what they promise and make people trust them again.
It's a lot to ask.
And it all comes back to adapting.
Being able to change and evolve is important for every company, especially in an industry that's changing as fast as the EV market.
So what can Tesla actually do to get back on track? Where do they even start?
They need to do a lot of things. First, they need to focus even more on innovation. push the limits of batteries, charging, and self-driving.
They need to be the technology leader again.
Right, get back that wow factor that made them so cool in the beginning.
But just inventing new things isn't enough, right? They need to fix their image problem too, especially in Europe. How do they even start with that?
It's tricky. They need to separate the brand from Elon Musk's politics.
Yeah.
Maybe by focusing on what the company is all about and its mission.
Remind people why they like Tesla in the first place. The designs, the technology, caring about the environment.
Exactly. They need to change the story, make it about the cars and the good things they're doing.
And they need to do it fast.
The longer they wait, the harder it will be. They're at a crossroads, and what they do in the next few months will decide if they succeed in the long run.
You know, we've been focusing a lot on Tesla's struggles, but I'm kind of curious. What does all of this mean for the bigger picture? Like, what does their performance in Europe tell us about the global EV market?
That's a great question, and honestly, I think Tesla's struggles in Europe really show how competitive the EV market is. This
Okay.
isn't just happening in one region, it's a global race with companies from everywhere. China, Europe, the US, they're all fighting for a piece of the pie.
So it's not just about building great cars anymore. What else do these companies need to be thinking about?
Well, for one, they need to really understand what customers in different markets want. Something that works in one place might not work somewhere else. So these companies need to be able to adapt, and
Yeah.
change their strategies. They also have to think about things like, well, local regulations and charging infrastructure. And those things can be totally different depending on the country.
Sounds like navigating this whole EV landscape takes a lot more than just being good at engineering.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we can't forget about how fast technology is changing, too. Battery technology, charging, self-driving systems. It's all changing so quickly. Companies that don't keep up are going to get left behind.
So a lot to keep track of. What advice would you give our listeners who are following this EV revolution? What should they be paying attention to in the coming months and years?
Okay, I'd say keep an eye on a few things. First, technological advancements. Second, changing consumer preferences. Third, how important sustainability is. And finally, the always changing global politics.
Okay, let's break those down. First up, tech advancements. What are some of the innovations we should be watching closely?
Battery technology is huge EE right now. There's so much research going on to make batteries better, longer range, faster charging, and all that. Keep an eye on things like solid-state batteries. They could be a game changer for EVs.
And what about charging infrastructure? I know that's been a big problem for EV adoption in some places.
You're right, it's a critical piece of the puzzle. We need more fast charging stations everywhere, but also think about smart charging solutions. Imagine EVs charging when electricity is cheap and maybe even sending power back to the grid when it's needed. That's the kind of innovation that will make EVs even better.
That does sound futuristic, really efficient. Okay, so tech is super important. But you mentioned consumer preferences too. How are those changing, and what are companies doing to keep up?
Well, people want more than just a car that's good for the environment. They want a car that's connected and easy to use. Think, advanced entertainment systems, personalized settings, and software updates that happen automatically. They want their car to be convenient, fit their lifestyle, and work with their other devices.
It's like cars and smartphones are becoming one, kind of.
Exactly. And then you have sustainability. People really care about the environment now. It's not just about the emissions from the car. They want to know that their EV was made in a way that's good for the planet, using recycled materials, that kind of thing.
So it's about the whole life of the car, from start to finish.
Exactly. And lastly, we can't forget about politics and what's happening in the world. Things like trade wars and political disagreements can really mess with the EV market. Think about how those things can affect supply chains or how government incentives can change what people buy.
It's like a big game of chess, where the rules keep changing.
Exactly. Car companies need to be flexible, able to change quickly, and deal with these global changes. They need to have backup plans and get their parts from different places in case things go wrong.
Wow, this has been a really interesting conversation. It's clear that the EV market is changing all the time. Innovation is super important, competition is tough, and understanding technology, what people want, and global politics is crucial for any company to succeed.
You said it. For everyone listening who's as interested in this EV revolution as we are, here's my advice. Stay informed, be curious, and don't be afraid to question how things are done. The future of cars is electric, connected, and sustainable, and it's happening right now.
I love that. Thanks so much for taking this deep dive with me and sharing your knowledge with our listeners.
My pleasure. Until next time, keep learning and keep pushing for a better future for our planet.
And to all our listeners, thanks for joining us on this episode of The Deep Dive. We'll catch you next time for another deep dive into a topic that's shaping our world.